Hey, welcome to the Michaud Mission, 2 Men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. And as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, it is not just 2 men. No, it's not even 3 men. We've got 5 heads in the building.
Combining like Voltron.
Yes.
Hey.
To create.
Hey, you ain't never lied. You ain't never lied.
We have Shiz, Azriel, and Alexa Gold of the Beat Connection.
Yes, dude. Thank
In
you.
the building.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So good to be here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good to have you.
Most definitely. They are here, ladies and gentlemen, to help us review 1975 SHEBA Baby.
SHEBA Baby.
SHEBA Baby.
Yeah.
Starring Pam Grier and a man named Austin Stoker.
Oh,
That's about the best I can say about the brother. But we're going to get into it.
How you not gonna mention Derville Martin?
Oh, I forgot about Derville Martin. Yes, ubiquitous Derville Martin.
You can never forget Derville Martin.
70s all-star player.
It's like the Spanish Inquisition. No one's ever ready for Derville Martin. You just look up and there he is.
there he is. You can't miss him. You can't miss his butterfly mustache.
Right.
Like teasing you all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to each and every one of you out there in the chat, watching us as we stream live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Hello, Robert Monroe Jr., Aaron Fry, Sharon, Melissa, Deborah.
Hey, one and all.
Jeffrey, everyone out there. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We are going to get into some good conversations. We got a conversation to start off as we get into what everybody seems to have been talking about all weekend long.
Yeah.
Netflix, The Harder They Fall.
Yeah.
Man.
But before we do that, and before I even introduce you to the Beat Connection proper, ladies and gentlemen, I want to, for the first time, because Vincent, we haven't had this opportunity to do this on air before, to give a very special thank you to Alexa Gold of the Beat Connection. She is not only a podcaster, but she is a talented singer, songwriter, and music producer who produced the new theme music for the Michaud Mission.
Yes.
Hey, they
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for letting me for giving me the opportunity to do that. And I'm so glad that you guys. Yeah, I'm just so glad to be here, man. And Lynn, I've known you for quite some time. So when you called me to do it, I was a bit nervous about it, but yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you put your foot in.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
most definitely. So, all right. So real quick, give everybody and whomever wants to go the 30-second pitch on what the Beat Connection podcast is all about.
Lex.
Yeah.
You have the educated version of it.
No, seriously, the Beat Connection is called the Beat Connection for a reason. It is connecting the music between the modern hip hop song that we discuss and the original song that the modern hip hop artist and producer usually borrows or samples from. So for example, we discussed Pete Rock and See How Smooth. We did Troy, They Reminisce Over You.
Nice.
Who sampled Tom Scott's song Today, which was also, sampled as well. We did several different songs. And what we love to do is just talk about that sonic lineage, because so many of these producers, these great producers from Pete Rock, DJ Premier, Kanye West, so many others, that I'm sure, like Shiz and Azriel can name, they have basically dug into the crates and essentially, grabbed music from all over the world. And essentially, they basically lifted and expanded our perception of sound, our perception of melody and musicality, and really brought that into, hip hop. And so it's opened up a lot of hip hop listeners' ears. I mean, even Jay Dilla, Madlib. I mean, now it's like pouring in, but there's so many people out there, so many producers who have really kind of opened up the soundscape, so to speak, in terms of like where you can grab good music. And even if it's just, let's say 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds of a sample. We talk about repeat offenders. Ahmad Jamal has been sampled I don't know how many times.
Right?
James Brown has been sampled I don't know how many times. There's so many people out there. We talked about the Silvers as well, which was a family group, who basically came out with a lot of great music, and Camp Low for their song Lucchini. This is it.
Yeah.
Sampled from their song. So Adventures in the Land of Music. So it's basically talking so it's basically a discussion
that episode just dropped.
The sonics ancestry of, modern hip hop music. Yeah.
That's dope. And needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't see a lot of people talking about that. I mean, most of the time, we listen to all kinds of music. We don't think, we think the sample is cool, but we don't necessarily think about where it came from.
Right.
So that's something that we love to do. It's like we're kind of digging in the crates with those producers and with those artists, and we're going on the ride along with them and just basically talking about, all of this great music that's out there. And we're also diving deep into the artists who have been sampled, because a lot of times you dig through the crates and you think these artists have passed away, and it's like, no, a lot of people are still living. They're still very much touring,
still producing music,
still out there making music. And I think they deserve to be, put in the spotlight and be brought to the forefront to this new generation of listeners. So
I just to piggyback, and I won't be long. When you spoke about some of the older artists still being active, I ended up watching a documentary where Leon Silver's, I think, great grandson was now a hip hop producer. So it's funny how music just keeps evolving, and as much as music meant to that family, it's still going on today, even though the sound of music has shifted.
Yeah,
right. The art is still very much a part of the lineage.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Definitely. That's dope.
That's definitely, and I like that word that y'all use, like sonic lineage. I love that. Now, real quick, and we're gonna get into the harder they fall, most definitely. But Azriel, all right, on the episode that I was listening to on your show, and it's funny that Alexa brought up talking about repeat offenders.
What did I do? What did I say?
Now Vince is a hardcore hip hop head. Don't let the Diana Ross fool you. This is a hip hop head right here, dog.
Look, I dabble.
Say less.
So you're talking about repeat offenders, and y'all were talking about DJ Premier, who is definitely a beast.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
what did I say?
But you put him right beside, as if he was standing representing all of East Coast. You put him right beside Dr. Dre. I'm like, I like Primo. I don't know if he's can stand like looking eye to eye with Dre. I don't know, dog.
Says who?
I'm just say the charts, say the respect due. Say the
nope. I'm not. Nope. We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
All right, what we doing? Come on.
Teach this savage Azriel.
When you listen, DJ Premier's sound for a decade and change, and probably still to this day, is considered the East Coast sound.
Okay.
He's definitively. It's other people. You can name Pete Rock and all them, and you can put anybody there. I said for me, DJ Premier's style of instrumental and beat making and production was why I fell in love with hip hop. It's him and it's Dre. It's him and it's Dre for me. we can debate this all day. DJ Premier's legacy, though, Biggie, Jay, Nas, whoever you name, got a legendary Primo track. That's why Primo is where he is for me. And that's not even including Gangstar.
Okay, but Dre
or Mos Def.
Mos Def.
Primo worked with everybody.
Royce the 5'9" had a career resurgence because of Premier.
All right, fair enough. But I'm just saying, Dre got some all-time classics too. You just anything he did Snoop is is certified.
Can I slide in?
No. Come
on. Shiz. Yes, you can do. Come in.
Let me slide in for a second, Rick. All right. So I think
go ahead. You got to share because you know how I feel about Dre.
So I think the conversation is right, and it's just like with most things when you compare, say like Jay-Z to Nas or something like that, just hypothetically, for example, right? I think you have a culture of hip hop, but then like your hip hop purists, and then you have a culture of not necessarily unhip hop purists, but more of your commercial listeners. Mm-hmm. And for Dr. Dre, not for nothing, as far as commercially, Dr. Dre would be. Obviously, he's up there in the charts because his whole Aftermath label and Eminem and everything like that. But then when you talk about a DJ Premier, I think DJ Premier is more of your hip hop purist kind of producer and DJ, because a lot of the names that you speak of, as far as like granted, Royce the 5'9" has had commercial success. Like you said, Mos Def, Gangstar, things, and artists of that nature, they're not really widely known commercially. Yeah. They're more of a purist form of hip hop, as opposed to like you say somebody that's out in the bright lights every day, or somebody that's topping the charts and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's the conversation, or the discussion or dispute between the two of them. Not taking away from either one, because they both stand on their own. But I think Premier is more of and I don't even want to say underground, because I don't mean underground in the sense of underground, but he's more of
no.
He's more. It's the essence. Now, and I'll say this. I don't know if you saw our Dr. Dre episode. I had a total stand moment for Dr. Dre. Like, I love Dre. Like, like when I put Premier next to Dre, it was 1A, 1B. Like, if you throw on a Primo track, I'm gonna have a field day. If you throw on a Dre track, I'm gonna have a field day. That's just my two favorite producers. Like, if they would have did them in the verses, I'd have shut my Instagram down. Like, I just really hold Premier in a really, really high regard.
And you know what? I ain't even mad at you. You stood for Primo, and that's all I wanted you to do. So I ain't mad at you. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm always gonna stand for Primo.
Well, you know what? Let me just add real quick. It makes me think of, like, on a commercial level, if we're talking about, who represents commercially for West Coast hip hop, most people are going to think about Dr. Dre. But on the East Coast, if you don't think about DJ Premier, then you're probably thinking about Kanye West. Now, that would be like my choice for somebody commercially who has kind of really taken over the East Coast as far as sound. And yes, we can say, okay, these producers have also made names for themselves as far as being artists. But I think production wise, they both have such a large catalog, not just in hip hop and R&B, but in other kinds of music, that I think that possibly Kanye West might be maybe like the next choice in terms of, commercially, putting East Coast
representing. Right.
Yeah.
Which is why I always go to Pete.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Vince.
No, it's why I always go to Pete Rock, because I think Kanye it's a direct line between Pete Rock.
So do I.
And Kanye.
Oh
West.
yeah.
Kanye.
Oh yeah.
You know that whole
do you think that
Chicago style.
Well, do you think that Kanye Do you think Pete Rock is as known as Kanye though?
Oh
Like,
no, I don't think he's as known, but I think what when you think about Kanye West and his, I mean, Kanye West in a lot of ways, in my mind, is a classic beat digger.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Premier, you really think about the turntable work. Dre is G-Funk, like he really does have that bounce,
right?
Yeah.
But Pete, it was actually in the crates,
right?
Pete was actually doing
the work,
I mean, he was an archaeologist,
yeah,
like it really was. Like Pete was during that moment in the 90s where these dudes were Indiana Jones.
Well, I would say,
and trying to out dig each other.
Yeah, I would say Pete and Prince Paul.
Prince Paul,
definitely.
literally digging in the crates.
Yep.
Dom and D, like all of them, like they really
Dom
did.
And D, yep.
So, and in my mind, Kanye West took that, like you said, to a commercial level.
Right.
But he really is
Lord
from
Finesse
that.
But y'all just
Lord Finesse.
Right. I'm not going to gloss over my man Just Blaze though. I keep seeing people just pass over my guy Just Blaze.
No. Well, when you mention Kanye and his run on the East Coast, Just Blaze is right there. So when you mention that Kanye run, you got to mention Just Blaze, even if you don't mention him by name, because the Rockefeller sound was Kanye and Just.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Hold up. This is the show mission. Turn it into Beat Connect. See, what y'all don't realize. Y'all don't realize.
This.
No, I did start it, but I know when to stop. Vincent is 2 inches away from moving his notebook to the side and just pulling out.
Because we can talk about producers.
Yeah, he can go producers all day.
Yeah.
Yes, we love it.
We might have to do a part 2 of this connection.
We'll say that for when y'all come on to us.
All right. Because we gotta get to Mad Lib, we gotta get to Large Professor.
All that.
So, we got like.
Put it in the notes.
We really gave Dilla what we supposed to give Dilla as far as his flowers.
All right.
All right.
Save it for the Beat Connection.
All right, I'm just
save it for the invitation.
See, talking about producers.
It's my bad. I started them. I should have known better.
No, this is what we do, man. We love this. We love this, man.
I tried to tell you.
It's all my fault. It's all my fault. The Beat Connection, ladies and gentlemen, they converse about some of hip-hop's most notable samples and the original music that inspired them.
Yes.
You can subscribe on YouTube at the Beat Connection 215.
Yep.
Most definitely.
Yes, sir.
Even though you're not all in the 215 area. I know Alexa is local right now.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am as well.
I'm at an undisclosed location.
Yeah, but he's from the 215 though. He's from Philly. So
okay. All right, we're going to get into the heart of they fall in a second, ladies and gentlemen. But I got to put Shiz on blast for a little bit because, as you see, he's got this wall of records behind him, and it's mad beautiful. He's got Thriller, he's got the Bee Gees. I mean, he's got Alice Cooper, and he said that this is pulled from the record collection of himself and his wife. But I gotta ask, who of the two of you is the Barry Manilow live fan?
I told you, you know what? Like I said, between me and my wife is a combination of us both. Because we listen to everything. Like literally, we listen to everyone. One morning we can wake up to we'll wake up listening to disco. The next morning we're listening to R&B. The next morning we could be listening to I don't know, classical Beethoven or something like that. So it's everything that comprises the wall and everything that we have as far. And this isn't everything that we have, but everything that we do have as far as records and vinyls and all that, it consists of both of us. Because again, we listen to and touch every sound and everything that's out there. So, but yeah, it was her idea though.
And yet you have not answered who was the owner of the Barry Manilow line.
I said it was a combination of the both.
Look at him tap dancing.
You know what? I like the Barry Manilow cover. I like the cover. So I said let's get the cover. And again,
I was about to show you shiz.
We got to
break me Hans bag. Stop tap dancing.
We got to keep the diversity. You know how I dance with the best of them.
Yo, the Copacabana is a good song.
Right, exactly.
Copacabana. All
right.
Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl.
Exactly.
Oh my god!
No, hey, don't get me started. Don't get me started. I have no shame.
Don't worry about it. The missionaries are right with you. Deborah Battle says, "Leave Barry Manilow alone. I love his music." So there you go.
Shot rang out, but who shot who? At the Copacabana.
Okay. All right. It's not Casablanca.
Oh my goodness. And then it turned into a disco when she lost her mind.
She
lost her love and then she lost her mind at the Copacabana. Because remember, she was a crazy woman.
All right.
She was a crazy woman at the disco.
Okay.
She was dancing at the disco. She was crazy.
I'm laughing because I didn't know he knew this much. Like,
come on now.
Recite
at the Copacabana.
It really is a good song, though.
It's a great story.
In my head right now.
Oh my god.
She lost her love, she lost her man, and she lost her mind.
Okay, all right.
At the
Copacabana.
Copacabana.
Lynn said, "Tone it down a notch."
So anyway,
you brought up Barry Manilow.
I did bring up Barry Manilow.
You did.
I didn't know it was going to trigger you.
I'm just saying.
Hey, Lex. You gotta tell your man to stop opening multiple Pandora's boxes.
I was gonna say he keeps opening them.
He's a troublemaker. That's what he does. He's a troublemaker.
Anyway, look, the missionaries are all on this. Melissa is like, you have to see the live version back in the day. Calm down. Anyway, everybody's having Barry Manilow moments.
That's the mother of the Beat Connection.
Hey,
Melissa Bagley. That's the mother of the Beat Connection.
Oh, okay. Let's love. That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into what everybody's been talking about from this past weekend with the premiere of the new Western, The Harder They Fall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That hit Netflix. I think did it premiere on Friday? I think it's when it.
Yeah.
I
mean,
whenever the third was.
Yeah,
the
that's
third.
right.
So that was Wednesday.
Wednesday.
But everybody watched it over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely when I watched it. The Harder They Fall, which is a new Western that is all black cast starring Idris Elba, Zazie Beetz, Regina King, Jonathan Majors, Lakeith Stanfield, R.J. Seiler, Delroy Lindo. You know, just to name a few. I mean, it's nothing but heavy hitters in this film. That was, I believe it was directed by Jesse Samuels, who co-wrote the screenplay with Boaz Yakin. And this film, which so far, as I can see, has gotten pretty good reviews.
Yeah, pretty solid reviews.
Solid reviews.
Really solid. From solid to stellar.
Yeah. And it's definitely a movie that me and you, Vincent, were looking forward to because we're big Western fans.
Yeah.
Especially you yourself, Vincent. I know you're a huge Western fan.
I mean, huge is strong. I think they're interesting.
Okay.
Like certainly, and when you talk about blackness in Westerns, we've had 2 years now where we've devoted a month to black Westerns. So
yeah.
It was very much in our wheelhouse.
And I understand that of the big connection, Azriel, you actually just watched the film, right?
Yeah, I watched it over the weekend with my wife. Really enjoyed it. What sparked my interest though was I heard the soundtrack. I heard the soundtrack first, and I'm the B Connection can attest. I'm a big Griselda fan, and there was a record on the soundtrack with Conway from Griselda, Jay-Z, and Jadakiss. So I was like, "Oh, who did this? Who did this beat?" And it was James Samuel. For those who don't know, James Samuel is also a music producer.
Right. I think that's his main claim to fame, actually.
Yeah, he produces for Jay Electronica and a few other MCs and artists. His producer name, I think, is him and another brother. I can't remember his name. They go by the Bullets, though. Bullets with an I. So this was his first feature film. He's done documentaries before, and he's done short films. I think one of his documentaries was based on Jay-Z, and it was a short film that got nominated for like a Sundance Award. I can't remember the name of it. So I went into it just with no expectations. I just wanted to see a good film. Mm-hmm. That's probably one of the better films I've seen probably in the last few years. I really like films, period. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And what I liked about it, if you might not even notice it, but nobody in that movie says the N-word.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, they flirt with it.
Yeah, he's actually talked about that in interviews.
Yeah. They there was one, like you said, there was one scene where they kind of flirted with it, and before it even came out, it was over. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but that's a really good film, and I really enjoyed the twist. I also like that the story is fictional, but the characters are real live outlaws, and they existed. So you can go back and do your history on them and find out the real story. But the story of the film is really good, really good.
What were your thoughts on the film, Vincent?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I think it was very much in the spaghetti Western tradition, which was always a lot more style, than the story itself. And certainly this is a film that just had a lot of style. Like you could tell they leaned on the visuals.
Yes. Yeah. Big time.
Of these black people within this context that we don't necessarily see them in all the time. But I like the fact that the heft of the talent of the actors really lifted it more than South. So you have Idris Elba, you have Delroy Lindo, you have Regina King, you have Lakeith Stanfield, and the script itself isn't really that heavy.
No.
But the caliber of their acting elevated it to the point where it was something. If somebody has not signed Delroy Lindo to play Bass Reeves
in like a series of films, like a 3-picture deal,
like older Bass Reeves, that you can tell his back hurts, and like he got bad knees, like he ain't really here for all that. Like I didn't realize what I wanted was older Bass Reeves. Like everybody knows who he is. He's very deliberate and intentional with his movements. But I don't really have time. Look, I know Robert is in the chat, but he and I talked a little bit over the weekend, and we said nothing more dangerous than an old black man.
That's right.
And I thought he captured that wonderfully.
No, there is something more dangerous. An old black man with a badge and 2 guns.
Right. and again, bad, bad. Like you could tell he had bad knees. Like I ain't running. Like look, if I had to take this gun out, I'm killing somebody because I had to take it out. But yeah, I enjoyed it a great deal. I mean, look, talking about the casting, like we got to address the Zazie Beetz elephant in the room at some point. But you want to talk? Like, what did you think, Lynn?
Well, I mean, first of all, I enjoyed it. I too, like you, didn't think like the script is not it's not changing the world or anything like that,
right?
But that's fine because most Westerns, the stories are basically their folklore. That's what they are. You know what I mean? And And that's what this film is. And when you think about a whole lot of Western, I was actually thinking about this, is that outside of, Westerns that are specifically trying to tell a real story, like
right,
like the gunfight at the OK Corral or something like that. Outside of those type of westerns, all the westerns are basically, they're folklore. They're stories that've been handed down, and they take, people from history, they kind of massage them up, mythologize, make them almost like these huge myths, American myths, and they put them in these adventures, which is what you had. Like they were called, like, basically like the little books that they people would pass on, the stories of Billy the Kid and stuff like that. So, and those stories are basically just quick morality tales, and that's what this was. And like you said, what elevated it was not only the acting, but just the stature. Because the acting was good, but the second, and we don't want to spoil it, but the second Idris Elba enters into this film, this film then went up another notch. Right. And mind you, it's already up here,
right?
Because Regina King is on a horse, standing across the railroad tracks.
It's my favorite scene in the movie.
It is beast, man. Yeah. It is beast. And like you talk about like Delroy Lindo, I didn't know I needed Regina King in a Western.
I know.
Oh my God.
Right.
Regina King in a Western with a knife. Oh my God. Oh.
Listen. I was watching with my wife and I had to contain myself.
Yo, I'm telling you. And it speaks to Azriel about the soundtrack. The soundtrack is just so amazing because while it does have touches of the typical Wild West fare that you would hear in westerns, it's mixed with like some Caribbean flair, some African hip hop. I mean, it's just like this international gumbo of sonicness, to paraphrase from the Beat Connection there. And it's just like it's so delicious.
There's a Seal record on that soundtrack that they play maybe about an hour and 20 minutes, maybe about an hour and 15 minutes into it. It's almost at its crescendo at this point. The Seal record comes on at the perfect point in that movie, and it's just like, this is beautiful. I feel like Seal was the cheat code for soundtracks.
And shout out to Idris Elba too for getting back on the horse, because remember he just did the joint about the Philly Cowboys.
The Concrete Cowboys.
Right. So shout out to him for jumping back on there.
He's like, y'all gonna get me on these horses like now? After that, I'm done. So like, let's just stack them up, because then I'm done. Now, Vince, you referenced the
I'm actually really annoyed at the filmmakers that we have to talk about this.
You're annoyed at the filmmakers because of this?
I am.
Okay. So the story is
Zazie Beetz. As we said, these are all people playing actual figures from the Old West,
right?
And while none of them necessarily resemble the people that they're playing,
correct,
Zazie Beetz is playing Stagecoach Mary, and Stagecoach Mary was a bigger, darker woman.
Yes.
So unfortunately, this fits into a pattern.
And Zazie Beetz, for those who don't picture her, she is not a bigger nor a darker woman.
Right. So it fits into this pattern of lighter skinned Black actresses portraying darker skinned women, or lighter skinned Black actresses getting roles that it seems like logically should have gone to a darker skinned actress. Right. And like I like Zazie, I like her. Like I think she's solid. Like I thought the same thing about her in this. I think about her in Atlanta.
Okay.
Like for somebody who can hold space with Brian Tyree Henry, Lakeith Stanfield, Donald Glover, Regina King, Jonathan Majors. She's solid. Like she does not get lost in the scenes. But at the same time, it's nothing about Zazie Beetz that makes me say, well, I'm glad she was there.
Okay.
Like this would have been totally different if she wasn't there.
Okay.
So it just seems like this was a real easy casting decision that got fumbled. And then I don't like the reaction to it. Like I've seen a couple of interviews with the director where it's almost a version of what white people say to black people when we say something and they basically say, what's the big deal? Or you're overthinking it, which I don't like that. Like, I don't think that's really a good look.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so glad you brought that up. I gotta speak on this.
Go ahead, Alexa. Go ahead.
No, because actually somebody just mentioned it in the comments. You know how Zoe Saldana was actually cast as Nina Simone. And I remember when that happened, and and it's just like, what do the casting directors or the directors think when they're casting these women who are supposed to be representing, darker, possibly larger, even older, women? Zazie Beetz, and I agree with everything that you said, Vince. Like, she doesn't get lost in the scenes that she's in. I've seen her because she was in Deadpool, I believe.
Yes.
The second one. Yeah.
Solid.
So she's a solid person. She's not like overwhelming, but she knows how to get the job done. And that's nothing to take away. That's not to take away or discredit her talent. It's just to say, like, obviously Regina King is like Regina King. Zazie Beetz, she's still getting her footing. She still has, some more work to do. But when I saw this, and I haven't seen the movie yet, but I definitely wanted to see it. But having seen her being cast as Stagecoach Mary, and when I saw the comments and the backlash against it, I could understand, because first of all, there's so many great actresses out there who are remarkable, who could have played this particular character. Yes, it's fictional. Yes, it ain't true. Like, I get it. But like, come on, like, there's some aspects of it. If you're trying to represent a particular character, like, do a bit of work. You can do a bit more work, and you can actually be true to the realistic depiction of, these people that you're trying to portray on screen. So Viola Davis comes to mind. I'm sorry, I can't remember the woman's name from Orange is the New Black, but she's so pretty. I think her name's Danielle. Can't remember her name, but she's a bigger, dark-skinned woman.
Play Tasty. Yeah.
Lynn, Lynn, you know who me and you would have cast.
Who would you have cast?
Oh, what's our girl's name, Lynn? Because you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I don't know who.
Lovecraft Country.
The girl who played Ruby.
I was looking up Tasty, and now you got me looking up somebody else.
Well, the girl who played Ruby on Lovecraft Country, she's gorgeous, and I loved her. So I would have loved to have seen her Stagecoach Mary. But I think
first of all, the woman from Orange is the New Black is Danielle Brooks.
But we're talking about Wunmi.
It's Umi
Musaku. Wunmi Musaku.
Usaku. I couldn't remember the last name. Umi.
Right. Yeah. And so I guess I just say all this.
She would have murdered that role.
Oh heck yeah. Oh yeah. There's this won't be the last time this happens. But I think that we are tired, especially as women. We are tired of seeing our representation be depicted in a way that's so unrealistic when it doesn't have to be. Like, why is it? And there's nothing against, her background or anything like that, but why couldn't they have chosen someone who was closely related to the way that because obviously we have a picture. There's a picture going around on the internet of the way that Stagecoach Mary looks. Why couldn't they have picked someone to look that way? Why do we constantly need, like, we got an all black cast, but we need that one mixed girl, or we need that one mixed guy to, like, because we just can't be comfortable with all these, dark skinned folk. We cannot be comfortable with that. Like, what is the issue with that? Like, I don't get it. And like I said, it won't be the last time it happens, but I don't understand the psychosis in why we just don't feel comfortable with an all black cast. I just don't get it.
Well, technically, it is an all-black cast. So
she's mixed.
Okay, all right.
I mean, now
she presents as black.
Right. I think it's more of a colorism thing.
Yeah, it's more of a colorism thing.
And to Deborah Battle, because Deborah Battle had a comment about no one talks about darker skinned black men.
Right.
Playing. But I think it's a false equivalence. Like, we all know what this is. We ascribe dark skin to masculinity.
Right.
So a man being dark, it's like there's nothing radical about that. Whereas, having a brown skin act like this is, and this is not a new conversation.
What is it? Dark versus light skin little meme that they used to have going around.
I see all the points that you guys are bringing up. I honestly 100% do.
You about to sound like a white person telling black people that you notice what you about to do, right?
Maybe I'm about to sound like a white person.
All right, go ahead.
Maybe I'm about to sound like
I don't know why y'all see color.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
That's what I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
Because like I see people bringing up, the Zoe Saldana, Nina Simone deal, right?
Which that was erroneous. That was an error of errors.
It was an error, but the biggest error of that was, to me, was, could they have cast better? They could have cast better. But if you want to make the argument that Zoe Saldana at that point probably, she's a big name. She's not she's a name out there. She can put some butts in the seats, and at least her track record as far as shows that she could put some butts in the seat. So if you want to make the argument that you cast her because she will put the butts in the seat, then I will ride with you there. The problem was not so much that, for me, was that they then tried to darken her up for the movie. That's when they crossed the line to me, because while everybody is making this point, and yes, I guess we are talking about different times here, but I land on this. Like I said, this is a Western, which is lore. It's folklore. They cast a black woman in it. I understand the argument, and I'm not, and I'm fine with people having that argument. I'm just telling you my viewpoint of it. My viewpoint of it is that they cast a woman in there, Zazie Beetz, who, for all you know, was the best one in the auditions. We don't know. You don't know how many people they looked at for this. And she got the role, and they realized that at the end of the day, they are doing this fictional story about all these characters. Technically, none of the other people look like any of the other people either. Right. So should they then knock her off because if she was good in the room because she's lighter skinned? Because the argument, it maybe it's a false equivalency, as you might say. You can look at, to Deborah's point about darker skinned people playing lighter skinned people. Everybody looked at X and saw Malcolm X. Denzel Washington is like 9,000 times darker than Malcolm X, but you looked at it and you saw Malcolm X. Diana Ross don't look nothing like Billie Holiday, but you looked at her, but she was in the movie and she portrays Billie Holiday. The difference of those films and the Nina Simone film is that all three of those were biopics. So I understand that you want to get the depiction correctly. In a Western that is not purported to be a true story. They tell you it's not a true story. Yes. And it is just all folklore. For them to just cast her, I'm fine with it.
But again, it fits into an ongoing pattern. Like this is an ongoing pattern. Like this isn't like you can't take it out of the context of an ongoing pattern of this that goes back decades. And again, quite honestly, it really don't matter what me and you think. because this ain't about us.
Mhm.
Like this ain't our conversation.
Right.
Like we can't say listen to black women and then only listen to them when they say some shit that we agree with.
Right.
Listen to black women
that?
except when we think they overreacting.
How about that?
Or they need to calm down.
But I didn't.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's not what you said.
Right.
And I can say that to you because the luxury we have of having over 250 episodes
Right. We got
is that
receipts.
like people can like we actually have receipts.
Yeah.
Like people know where we stand
Right.
on this stuff. So I know like you're making this argument in good faith because you actually have the record to back it up. But you can't say that this hasn't been a pattern that is ongoing. And just in full disclosure, just like you said that, I have been guilty of saying that same thing about Aunt Viv. Like I think like maybe a year ago, I was dismissive of the whole Aunt Viv thing. But again, this ain't about what we think. Like if black women have said again and shit, we just watched Jungle Fever last week.
Yeah.
And they were talking about
they were talking
20
about
20 years ago in Jungle Fever. Like again and again and again. And not to shit on Zazie Beetz. She ain't really good enough of an actor for me to go to war over. Like we had the same battle. No, real talk. Like we had a version of this conversation about Journey Smollett in Lovecraft Country.
Yes, we did.
First of all, that's actually how she's described in the book. Second of all, Journey Smollett can act her ass off.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, again, I like Zazie Beetz. She ain't Journey Smollett. She ain't Tandy Newton. She ain't Tessa Thompson. Like, she's not one of these actresses where you can say, okay, yes, she's a lighter actor. She's not Gugu and Botha Raw.
Oh,
yeah. Really would have loved to see.
Like she's not. Like you know. Oh, well, you just cast her because she's a light-skinned black woman. Dog, have you actually seen her perform?
Right. I hear you. I hear you. Any of those names is
in Zazie Beetz's defense. The role ain't even that big. Like this isn't a linchpin role in the like. She's the damsel in distress.
Yeah,
she got that. You know, she's got the one scene where they introduce her. Like again, I'm annoyed that this film that I think is an utter triumph, the conversation has gotten derailed.
They dropped the ball
over something that was completely unnecessary.
It was an easy
for them. Like
can I chime in real quick?
Go ahead, Azrael.
I just want to chime in because what often goes unsaid is how much these studios rely on ensemble casts these days, right? So maybe Zazie Beetz is the biggest name that applied for that role. Given the time, given the fact that it's not a small role, but it's not the biggest role either. Maybe you get her on just to monetize, just because like she has a following. It's a small role. Let's just get from point A to point B. Or to Lex's point and to Vince's point, maybe you do it intentionally because there's a market for social media hatred. The viewership is one thing, but the engagement on social media because of this conversation only drives the value of the film up.
That's very true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it may not be intentional in terms of trying to slight dark-skinned women. It might be a case of what can we do to drive social media engagement up, because we can monetize that too.
Well, if that's what they meant, they succeeded, because half of the conversations that I've seen about The Harder They Fall is about this.
Yeah,
we can't even get to the movie.
And I say that because Netflix and all these other studios, if you have a verified check mark, you get paid off of the engagement.
Yeah.
As long as people are talking, there's money coming in. It's almost like ad revenue.
That's true.
So maybe that's why they did this.
Azrael the conspirator, ladies and gentlemen. Bree 517 says, I just wish they would stop lightening the part for Black women in film. There are so many dark-skinned Black women who don't get the shine that they should
That's
get.
so true.
Absolutely.
That's so true.
And Farrell Blackwell says, I got to start a drinking game for every time Vince mentions Google.
You know what? I just saw her in a movie called Fast Color.
That's our joint.
That's our joint.
We reviewed that. That's our joint.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I might be a little late to the party, but I absolutely loved. I think she's just good anyway, but I absolutely love the film. So just wanted to put that out there. But
oh yeah, she's a beast. And
yeah.
Yes. But overall, and to your point, just real last note, only because you kind of like brought it up, like about how slight her role in here. If I had any nit to pick about this film, is that I think the story, especially the backstory of Jonathan Major's character and her character, are slighted. Like they don't really. I don't think they get the like they don't get their great monologue. Like Regina King gets a great monologue to talk about her sister. It scared me. Like I was ready to turn off the TV. Like she was terrified me. Yeah, you know. Mm-hmm. And then Idris at the end, I don't want to give it away, but he has a big monologue as well.
Oh man, it's funny. I was listening to one of our Western. I was actually listening to Buck and the Preacher, and we were talking about Regina King in Watchmen. As a sister knight, and we joked about how like Black women who were like cosplay had this great new costume. They could be sister knight. Regina King just gave him another one.
She gave him another
one. Because her in the pea coat, in the hat. Oh my! Look like man. Immediately iconic.
There's going to be a Regina King. There's going to be like a Regina King like wing in like the cosplay Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
like, just chicks just dressed up. As Regina King. Come on, man. Come on. All right,
but we approve of Heart of the Fall.
We do,
and we will review it properly.
Well, you know, actually, look, we can. No, we can. No. Because Miss Makiba, I'm going to go back here in the chat. She actually mentions that here it is that she drove 70 miles one way.
There it is.
To watch The Harder They Fall on a big screen.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go. So that and you mentioned it in passing. Concrete Cowboys is also something that we'll talk about.
Oh yeah,
come 1 February.
1 February.
Come 1 February, where we do westerns here on the Michelle Mission.
Yes. Nice.
All right. Okay.
No western tonight, though.
No.
Almost an hour in. No western tonight.
I forgot. We've come to review another movie. I'm ashamed to say was my selection on the Michelle Mission. Let's get into our review of SHEBA Baby.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But first, it's time for trailer talk. Now, trailer talk, and this is not going to be long because we got 5 heads here, and people have been sitting for an hour, and there are people actually who've tuned in unknowingly for a review of SHEBA Baby. So,
sorry about that.
Before that's fine. But in trailer talk, this is where we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. You know, whatever is on our head, because all of this is going to be cut out of the show at the end because the trailer is going to play here on the actual podcast. So, with that in mind, Vincent, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you know exactly what year that picture of Diana Ross on your sweatshirt is from?
I don't. But if I had to guess,
it's got to be like early.
I would say like 75.
75? She looks a lot younger than that.
With that big old afro wig?
Yeah, that looks like about maybe 72, 73.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because 75, because that's like 75, you're nearing disco time.
Yeah. All right, I'll go along with that.
Yeah.
I just realized Vincent's shirt says Supreme. I love that. I love that. I love that Supreme put Diana Ross on the shirt. That's dope.
I don't think this is a officially licensed Supreme sweatshirt.
Listen, you was supposed to let it slide. I was trying to pick you up.
Right.
I still love the shirt anyway, though.
Right.
It don't matter.
I just like to play on words.
Yeah, you know, me too.
Did the fact that you bought that on the subway give it away that it's not?
Right. Right. I don't think Earl in the Northeast is an officially sanctioned Supreme salesman.
As he pulled it out the bag.
Right.
Underneath
It's
the
like
socks.
I got this
The shea butter.
and some incense.
some incense
Right.
and some sweat socks.
Right. And some batteries. Like, I don't really know if that's where you would buy the Supreme.
No.
Right.
No.
So,
Not off a stand from Kensington. Got it.
right. Exactly.
Oh my god.
Oh god, that was funny.
What's that next to that shirt? Is that fentanyl? All right, we gotta go.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the movie.
All right. That's
All right.
I'll do it. You ready?
Farrell Blackwell said, "Oh damn!" She said, "Fast color. Vince is gonna explode." Look. Hey, you really want to see Vince explode? Just start. Say that you know Anika Noni Rose. That'll be it.
She's a fine actress who will be visiting her work in December.
I'm sure we will. Yes, we will.
That's right.
Yes, you will. You've made sure of that, Vincent. You've made sure of it.
All right.
Notice how we've visited a couple of Anika Noni Rose movies. I'm staying away from the Nia Long filmography.
That's because you can't handle it. You can't handle me. It's too powerful.
I don't know how objective I'll be able to be.
Be sitting over there talking about "Are You There Yet?" It's the finest film ever made. Never in the history of cinema.
Well, if you look up the slang version of "fine," I mean, you ain't wrong.
Right.
Oh my
Until
god.
they made "Are You Then Yet?" too.
Right. Are you done yet? Right.
Oh God. Yeah. I'm purposely staying away from that.
All right.
You ready? All right. Are you gonna?
I'm gonna. It's your
You with
movie,
it?
so we'll.
All right. So.
This all you.
All right. Let me just be quiet for a minute.
SHEBA Baby, a 1975 film directed by William Girdler. The plot: when the loan business of her father, Andy, is trashed by thugs looking to force a sale, Chicago private investigator SHEBA Shane travels back to her hometown of Louisville, Kentucky to even the score. Together with old flame Brick Williams, she attacks the henchmen of local loan shark pilot, but a retaliation leaves Andy dead. Blind with rage, SHEBA vows to take out pilot's boss, mob kingpin Shark. SHEBA Baby, directed by William Girdler, stars Pam Grier, Austin Stoker, Dervell Martin, Ruby Challenger, and Dick Merrifield. This was the choice of Lynn Webb. Lynn.
Yes.
Lynn, baby.
He says sheepishly.
Lynn, baby.
Explain yourself, sir.
What do you have to say about SHEBA Baby?
It's terrible.
All right. I understand the calculus of SHEBA Baby.
Okay.
Because the calculus is that by the time 1975 rolls around, Pam Grier is a certifiable superstar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. Coffee, Foxy Brown. She is the first woman of Black film in general. for the whole country, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say she would it's because she was in all these action movies. You can say it's because she is a fantastic looking woman. You can say it's because, you know, in more than a couple of the films, she, you know, has certain levels of disrobement going on.
Mm-hmm.
You can say it also because she is a captivating personality on screen, right?
Okay.
And all of that would be 100% true. And I went into the package that created Pam Grier. So the calculation behind SHEBA Baby is to now take that raw, fiery talent and sculpt it into a finely tuned, maybe more streamlined, mainstreamed package with, you know, blowout hair.
Okay.
You know, she's got a makeup artist that comes on set for her. She's changing her clothes in every single scene of this movie. This is time to put her on, you know, spotlight. Pam Grier, the actress, the woman. See me act. See me hold court in this film that is filled with action, but it's also filled with trauma and pathos and family strife.
Did I watch the wrong movie?
Keep going.
That's the calculus.
Okay.
Behind William Girdler's production
talking about SHEBA Baby
and direction of
Allegedly.
SHEBA Baby.
Allegedly.
I believe that's the calculation that was going on.
That was the idea.
That's the idea.
Right.
That's the
All right,
idea.
that's what we're going for.
That's what they were going for.
Okay. All right.
Hey, listen. Quarterbacks attempt to make passes. Sometimes they get interceptions. Well,
Exactly.
It's an attempt.
It's all there in the beginning. This film starts with what's one of the most famous scenes from Shaft, another commercial hit black film of years before. It's Richard Roundtree Shaft just walking through the streets.
Yes.
As you get his whole attitude, you get his whole vibe. It's like the whole movie is right there to that iconic soundtrack and music by Isaac Hayes. So this film starts with Pam Grier walking through the streets to pop music.
Wasn't she actually just on a sidewalk though?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's going to work.
Okay.
She's going to a regular 9
Like
to
they were
5.
showing that Shaft was his own man because he was in the traffic and stopping the traffic.
Okay.
And like he was part of New York.
Yes. Well, he was
melting into the traffic and flow. She was just kind of on the sidewalk.
She was just walking. She was walking to work, like Alexa said. She was, you know, and she was
a regular day.
She was following the rules, the traffic rules. She was not jaywalking,
and she wasn't running late either.
She wasn't running
because she was kind of.
It's a leisurely.
It was a leisurely morning stroll.
Yeah, she had paced it out. She knew exactly how many steps
it
would take to get to work. And yes, which is all you need to know about this. About SHEBA Baby, because this is just one leisurely stroll after another.
Yeah.
Yes, the whole Read the Beat connection is here because of the soundtrack.
I was about to say, we're gonna give y'all the mic to talk about the soundtrack. Look, y'all, we're not gonna be on the movie that long.
No, we're not. As you can hear, the dog is already giving the review.
The dog is like, yeah.
What's that? They talking SHEBA Baby?
Yeah. Yeah, they totally. The calculation was to dress Pam Grier up, and they just what they totally did was that they, in doing so, they dressed her down and took everything that is exciting and scintillating about Pam Grier off the screen.
Yeah,
totally off the screen, and they gave her a very stilted dialogue, right? But worse than that. And Pam Grier, as electrifying as a personality she is, you know, she's an actress. She's okay. And
she got better.
She got better. And you know, and perhaps this might have been the opportunity to show that she got better, but she's in a film where most of her scenes are against people who are giving her nothing. They are giving her absolutely nothing to work with. From Rudy Challenger, there's a name, who plays her father. He is like the best thing he ever did in this film was drop dead, because he is just.
I don't know. Hold on. Shout out to him though, because he tried to take on about 3 or 4 thugs in the beginning.
No, but did you see the dive though?
Because he didn't take him on. He just did a Greg Louganis dive into one.
And then my man dove like Tecmo Bowl.
and then got hemmed up. And I have seen better fight choreography in the Flintstones. I don't know.
Lynn, please. The scene when she drove into when they were meeting in the dark and she drove her car and ran over like 2 people, the way the thug hit the car, I was like, all right. Nobody went to acting school at any point.
There was no acting school. There was no take 2 on any of these. Just take. All you saw was take
this
ones.
out.
Just keep it moving. But as egregious as Rudy Challenger is, and unfortunately, D'Urville Martin, as we've mentioned, he is the star of the 70s. Like, you think the star of the 70s is Pam Grier, you think it's Fred Williamson, you think it's Jim Brown.
It's really D'Urville Martin.
It's D'Urville Martin.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
He's freaking movie. Mm-hmm. And the bad thing is, and he's in this film as pilot, and he's not given anything to do, but he is acting against 2 mannequins. I swear, there's literally a scene where he is emoting and the camera switches to the guys he is talking to, and they are just standing there.
Yo! Oh my God. I know exactly what scene you're talking about.
Deer in headlights.
They were dead.
They were totally dead. On the couch. And the bad part about it is that the best actors in here, Pam Grier and D'Urville Martin, their only scenes together, they're chasing each other. So they're not even acting against one another.
Right.
But as bad as that is, the worst crime in this film is asking us to believe that Pam Grier, one of the finest women walking the streets of 1975, is head over heels.
Oh no.
You about to be disrespectful.
He is. He about to come for Brick.
Brick gonna throw a brick.
She is head over heels for a dick named Brick. Get the hell out of here. This dude.
Is that gonna be the name of the episode?
A dick named Brick. This dude is so boring, so deadpan, so charisma-less. It is a shame. I mean, yes, I'll give him this. When he's asked to be a $3 Jim Kelly in this movie and actually drop kick somebody, he actually pulls that off. But that's only because Jim Kelly can't throw a kick, so he just looks better than Jim Kelly. Other than that, there is absolutely no chemistry whatsoever. You don't believe that they are the same species of human. Never mind that they are attracted to one another.
Lynn, you're not lying. When they first got on scene together, I'm like, who that is? Her brother?
Right.
There was no chemistry right away.
Then I saw him like that was her brother at first.
Yeah. Then I saw them in bed together, and I was like, oh, okay.
Interesting turn of events.
Right. I know it was this kind of movie.
Yeah. So
man.
So SHEBA Baby is just really a bad movie. And don't take my word from it, ladies and gentlemen. I read directly from the Josiah Howard's great book, Blaxploitation Cinema, the essential reference guide to blaxploitation films, where he writes of Sheba Baby, noteworthy only because this is Pam Grier's final film with the movie studio that made a star out of her. Sheba Baby is more than just bad, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that is exactly what I thought of Sheba Baby. Vince, I turn to you.
All the fun, you can tell we're moving towards the end of the blaxploitation period.
Yes.
There's no fun. There's no joy. It is lifeless. Somehow they managed to make Pam Grier not sexy at all.
Not at all.
Like we've talked about Pam Grier before, where she kind of goes from her early part of the career where frankly she's exploited. You know, they kind of have her naked all the time.
Right.
And then you get to this where she just has all of the charm of an 8th grade social studies teacher.
Yeah.
like even in the scene where she's supposed to be undercover and sexy, she really just looks like she went to Cancun with her girlfriends and, you know, they're going to stay up late. Let's be bad and stay up late and drink pina coladas. Like there's nothing, not pina colada. You know, I can't add anything to what you said about the acting. I do think Derville Martin as the big bad pilot is an interesting choice.
It's an interesting choice, but the thing is, he's not even really the big bad.
I think the film realized, like, Derville Martin has such a strange cadence. Like he has this whole, like there's this really strange energy. Strange is probably not the right word. It's a very distinctive energy that you get with Derville Martin.
Yeah.
So to have him as a mobster is just a weird choice.
Yeah. It works in Dolomite films, but in a film that's supposed to be straight,
right?
It just comes off.
It works in Dolomite because it's Dolomite.
Right.
Like no one's really getting hurt in Dolomite movies.
No.
But this is people getting killed. And like the best thing I can say, and we're gonna let y'all talk about the soundtrack. The fact that Sheba Baby shot that dude in the back with the spear gun and then the boat blew up. I said, that's something I haven't seen. Wait, we're gonna give 10 points to Sheba
Baby.
The
only one that felt like she was like unprepared.
Yeah.
Like for her to be, and again, and I know this is not in comparison, but unfortunately you have to compare it, right? But in comparison to even watching Coffee or Foxy Brown, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
If this was supposed to be like Lynn, like you said, like this is supposed to be a polished Pam Grier,
to step up, right?
Right, as that James Bond type of private eye from Chicago. I felt like she was the most non-threatening, like she was just unprepared.
Exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, right. I actually you know what came to mind for me as Vince was talking about Pilot. What came to mind for me was the scene when Pilot was in bed with his three let's just say floozies. But he was in bed, you know, as he was talking on the phone. And what came to mind for me was the idea of the sex symbol was very different this time around than it is. It is certainly, I don't know, it's very different depending on the time. But I was trying to look at him and just see him as this like big bad guy who was supposed to be like the gangster type and, you know, had the women around him, you know, of course his mixed, you know, like gang, his mixed harem. And I was just like, who finds this man sexy? Like it wasn't anything about it that was a turn on. But I will say, I don't think you can ever turn down Pam Grier sexy. I don't think you can really do it. You can try, you can attempt, but I think Pam Grier, no matter especially during this time, I think she's always going to be sexy. But I think in terms of the acting, now we're trying to see you as more than just a sex symbol. Now we're trying to see the authentic talent that everyone keeps trying to push in our face because they keep starring you in these films. So I'm like, okay, well, if this is supposed to be, you know, like your opus, so to speak, you know, if this is supposed to be the film that like makes you and is supposed to thrust you into, you know, stardom, then why was it so different? What happened behind the scenes that they allowed the ball to drop so horrendously? Like, I don't understand. Like, what happened? Go ahead.
So after I watched the movie, right, I wanted to kind of torture myself a little further. I wanted to see what critics thought of the movie when they saw it. Roger Ebert said,
"Oh yeah, he tore it up."
He said, "Only writing this bad could waste Pam Grier's talent after the streak she was on."
Right.
And to Vince's and Lynn's point, I don't think it's not that she wasn't sexy. It's Pam Grier, right? But when the acting and the writing is so terrible, you can't even appreciate what she's bringing on camera because, like you said, she's laying in bed next to a brick wall, literally. Like,
right.
But see, but that's where the difference is to me. It's at least, and you know, I'm loving Pam Grier. You're right. You can't turn off her sexy, but. And I really think that this film is a little bit of an answer to Cleopatra Jones, which comes out I think like a year or two before this, right?
Yeah,
with Tamara
like
Dobson, right? And with and Cleopatra Jones, it's not any great movie either, but Tamara Dobson is definitely cast as like this super spy. Super together spy who, and it's basically the same story, returns home to, you know, to straighten out stuff in her hometown.
Right.
But Tamara Dobson, and maybe it's because she was a model before getting into acting, has the presence.
Yes.
That even when she's not saying anything, she's standing there and you still feel you feel her sexuality like coming just there. In the room.
Right.
And I would give you that Tamara Dobson's background as a model kind of puts her over. If Coffee hadn't come out a couple of years before this, where everything that we're talking about Pam Grier displayed.
Yeah, but the difference in Coffee is that her character in Coffee, Pam Grier's character in Coffee is, you know, rises to be like, you know, this bad chick at the end. In this film, just like in Cleopatra Jones, she's already supposed to be all that,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, you know, like she's just walking down the street going to this job, but she's supposed to be this bad chick going to this job. Right. She's this chick when she comes back home, everybody's like, "Oh my God, and she's a baby." You know what I mean? So like she's supposed to be wearing this like attitude, and the attitude is like she is literally going up to dudes and putting her hands on them and they are getting petrified. So it's like she's supposed to be giving off this energy like she is like, you know, she's supposed to be Regina King.
Right.
And she's not.
Right.
She's not at all.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
So
But the soundtrack.
Wait. Before we dig into the soundtrack, I want to bring up this point, and Shiz, I want you to speak on this because we talked about it.
Okay.
We were we had both just started watching the film, and I called Shiz about something not pertaining to the film, and somehow we ended up talking about it, and I'm like, "Did you start it yet?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I just got to the part where she put his face right. Chlorine." And he was like, "Oh, is that what that was? I didn't know what was going on." You remember that conversation?
Right, yeah. So not for nothing, right? I'm a fan of blaxploitation films. I love them. And not for nothing, I watched y'all's review on Truck Turner, which is one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dorinda. But so I always enjoy practicality and like how before everything became CGI and special effects and all that good stuff. But I had no idea like what exactly was happening to when she was like interrogating the bull and she was dunking his head and I didn't know what it was. Like
right.
I didn't know if it was like I'm like, okay, is she suffocating him in flour or something? Like what exactly is going on? Because he was like terrified. And shout out to the actor for trying to sell the fact that like he was just drowning in whatever it was. And then Azrael was like, yo, what was it supposed to be?
It was supposed to be dustless chlorine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, like we all said and just noted for the past half an hour or so. Shout out to the actor because
shout out to the acting, he says.
Yeah.
Well, there's a certain charm that comes with these films that I think that overall, as we talk about it, and thankfully everyone has given their honest opinion of everything. There's a certain charm that these films have. The fact that it, in a lot of ways, it is very amateurish. People are trying, at least some of the cast, we're trying. They tried to build a story, and it's good to see, like a story be built. Whether it's a love story or sci-fi, whatever the case may be. It's good to just see like this cast take what they were given and try to attempt to bring something out of it. So I think for me, like overall, just being a little bit optimistic about it all is just like, okay, it was amateur, but there's a certain charm to like, we all have those like the blood looking like a certain kind of red that you don't like, that's not necessarily normal, or like whatever the case may be, like, or the gun having no bullets, actually in the gun, as all these little tidbits. All these little tidbits. It's very interesting.
Speaking of tidbits, before we move on to the soundtrack, which is why the B Connection, well, they're here to talk about the movie, and you can see they're having fun talking about the movie. But they're going to have a good time talking about the soundtrack. But there were three little things that I kind of noticed in here, and it's I think a little bit out of order. One is, at one moment, these three they call themselves out of town professionals walk into the insurance company with rifles.
Yes,
brandishing rifles left and right, stick them up, and everybody goes, is carrying back, except Brick, who walks towards the rifle. Who walks towards a rifle?
Oh, you're trying to negotiate. Trying his best. Yeah.
That annoyed me.
Yes, I can see how that would have annoyed you.
And
there's more.
Then cut to, because after that scene, that's when we have Rudy Challenger's great scene, because he drops down, he gets shot, thankfully. So he's
got shot.
He's taken out of the picture, and he's in the hospital. And Pam Grier gives what is supposed to be a very heartfelt monologue there, but it's not well directed, and quietly it's not well acted. But then a nurse walks in to the room.
Oh yeah.
And the nurse, and I don't know why this really, like, I took notice it, as Pam Grier is sitting there crying over her father. The nurse walks in and reaches for her father's finger. It just holds the finger. It doesn't do anything.
Don't say nothing.
Right.
Just stands there with the finger. And then when Pam Grier looks at her, she just reaches for another finger.
Hey, the actress that played the nurse.
Oh my God.
She don't know how nurses work.
Right.
She do no research on nurses.
No one helped her with that part.
Right, no one helped her with nursing.
I don't think he has a pulse.
Right. The director said, "Go in there and be a nurse," and she said, "Let me grab his finger. His finger. Maybe I'll take the other finger too. Is this how nurses work?"
Right. Oh my gosh!
I took note of that, and then at one moment, Pam Grier is going looking for information, and she goes into, I guess, like a diner or a little like
a dive,
like some little like dive to get some information. And I took note because I wasn't watching the acting, and I took note that apparently in 1975, you could get a cheeseburger for 35 cents.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
I'll eat that.
But you could get a large fries for 45 cents. A large fry.
Interesting. It's more expensive.
Was
than
more
the cheeseburger.
expensive than the cheeseburger. What does that say about the food at this time?
I was about to say you should probably leave the meat alone in there.
Right. This mystery burger.
Right.
That is only 35 cents.
Right.
Wow.
Byproduct burger.
But that's all I've got.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
That's all I got for
All right.
For the movie.
I already talked about her shooting a dude in the back with a spear gun, and then the boat exploded.
Wait. So
I
Vince,
said, well, that's quite exciting. Yes.
when I'm glad you brought that up because I watched that scene probably about 3 times because I was wondering why the boat exploded. I'm like, what was the correlation between the harpoon and the? I don't know.
I think he got hit with the harpoon, and then he lost control of the boat, and then the boat exploded.
Oh, all right.
I mean, never mind that. He was shooting a gun and missing him terribly.
Yes.
But with a 7-foot harpoon gun,
Right.
under one arm tucked.
Which maybe I'm glad it's 5 of us here because now it's a group mind. I don't boat.
Right?
Are harpoon guns something that are often in boats?
No,
Like just generally?
no, certainly not
No.
just laying there loaded.
It's
No.
like a life preserver, probably extra, gas, and a harpoon gun.
And a harpoon gun. Yeah.
According to bad writing, yes.
Yes, just generally harpoon.
But they had harpoon guns in Jaws too, right?
Yeah, but they were chasing a shark.
Chasing a shark.
Maybe somebody was chasing the shark.
I'm just saying, isn't is that not part of like standard issue? Like probably when they say, okay, we're gonna put together a boat scene, we need to have these items. Like
Right, that's what I'm
just
saying.
an
Like a
action
harpoon
movie.
gun.
Yeah, like just randomly laying around.
Right.
They have a
Question.
list. They have a list.
I don't believe Shiz is trying to make sense of the SHEBA
No, no,
Baby
no.
universe.
No, no.
That in that universe,
He's trying to make sense of it. The thing is, I find it very convenient that she just happened to hop on a boat with a harpoon gun. Like,
Follow-up question. Is a harpoon gun easy to use?
no.
Is
That's
it
what I was
pointing?
that's what I was just thinking.
like she ain't,
I swear, I was just thinking that, like the position that they placed her in, especially through all the movies, she's always doing something that I'm like, well, when did she get training for that?
That's
Like,
what I said.
when did she get certified?
She's unprepared. She seems like the most unprepared tough guy. Like
Right.
ever.
she learned how to
When did
use
you
that-
learn how to use a harpoon? Like,
Right.
Yeah, real quick. And 75 didn't have
Okay.
Wikipedia, so I don't know what happened.
According to Farrell Blackwell, harpoon guns and ascots come with all boats in the 1970s.
Well, there you go. It's much like everybody was kung fu fighting.
Hey,
Right,
well,
right.
to that point, Melissa Bagley says that these films try to make us believe that I could be standing on 5th Street and kick at you while you're standing on 6th Street and you actually fall over. Well, that was all BS.
So there you go.
There you go.
Oh
But
my
the soundtrack.
But the
Yes.
soundtrack.
But the soundtrack.
The
Monkey
soundtrack
Yes.
to SHEBA Baby, which was
Mhm.
produced by Monk Higgins.
Yeah.
And Monk Higgins is actually a very profound name in music history, as the Beat Connection did deep diving into the crates and found out. I will
Without
turn
the
it over
harpoon
to
I was about to say. Connect the beats. Connect the beats.
Yeah, connect the beats.
A good man is gone. A good man is gone.
Wait. Before you start, we can add this to my list of movies where they tell the whole plot of the movie in the song.
Right.
It's like this, Three the Hard Way, and Bobby Brown doing the theme song to Ghostbusters 2.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh my god.
So
go
I just
ahead.
listened to that the other day, but
But
no. Oh yeah, who wants to start?
You want because you've been kind of laying low key. So
low key.
you want to take the lead on this?
Oh well, let's get it. Aside from the film, right? I was a big fan of the soundtrack. I'm a big fan of cinema soundtracks and scores and all of that. Again, Vince, as you mentioned, right? That song right there pretty much captured like the whole film and everything. But yeah, that as far as doing homework and research, doing our beat connection thing that we always do, that we love to do. Yeah, we found there are quite a few samples on this album. Now it's debatable on whether or not, as far as being notable samples or notable modern day uses, I should say. Yeah. But there were definitely uses, and most notably, like we said, A Good Man Is Gone, which I believe was the most used or most sampled track from that album. And again, going back into our Dr. Dre DJ Premier conversation, shout out to Primo for sampling some of the scores and all that off of said soundtrack. At first, I wanted to say, let me give a big shout out to the vocalist Barbara Mason. Shout out to Billy.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
So gotta definitely but she killed it. For me, she killed it on all the tracks that she did. Again, A Good Man Is Gone. Obviously, I think if you probably held a poll or a tally to see which was everybody's favorite song off of that soundtrack, I think that was it. And what you got, Ray?
No. So when I watched this, it was my first time watching it in its entirety. My dad was a big Pam Grier fan, so I've seen bits and pieces, but I'd never seen a movie in its entirety. So at the part where
I'm just curious what scene from Sheba Baby his father screened for him that he only saw.
You know how you walk in the room. So anyway, A Good Man Is Gone. When Sheba's father passes away, it sounded really familiar to me. I'm like, where have I heard this before? But I knew it was a rap record. What I recognized it from was Joel Ortiz from Slaughterhouse put out a mixtape called Free Agent, and I want to say it was
2011.
Thank you. He put it out, and it was an independent release. The producer was Broadway. Broadway I hadn't heard of before, but that was one of his more successful projects. And he used the sample Good Man Is Gone to talk about loved ones from his neighborhood that had passed away. One that he really dug into was the person who helped him meet Akon. For those that don't know, Joel Ortiz kind of went around a lot of major labels, but ended up sticking around in the independents. He went with Akon for a little bit, went with Dr. Dre for a little bit. So Good Man Is Gone by Joel Ortiz from the Free Agent album is a must hear if you appreciate sampling and you really appreciate that Monk Higgins soundtrack.
Yeah, and we're talking about how it was sampled. I think it's been that song in particular. You talk about how it's the favorite one. I think it has been sampled like over 20 times. Or something like that.
I want to say 23 to be exact.
Yeah. So if I can add a bit to the story. So first, for me, when we talk about the credits, so it's usually credited as Monk Higgins with Alex Brown, and then we have Barbara Mason. So Barbara Mason was the vocalist, Alex Higgins was the songwriter, and Mark Higgins was the arranger and the composer.
Right.
Now, they all have their particular history. I would say Mark Higgins has more history than Alex Higgins and Barbara Mason because of the work that he's done with different artists. But Alex Brown was the songwriter, and she actually has an album that was produced by Mark Higgins. That's on YouTube, actually, and you can, check that out.
That's a great album, by the way.
Yeah. So for anyone who's into like Motown-esque, 60s, soul or pop music, Alex Brown, you might want to go check out that album. Also, Barbara Mason, yes, we stated that she's from Philly, and she's done a lot of work as a singer and a background vocalist and all of that. And I believe like she was still touring at least till like 2016 or so. So she was still working, actually. But yeah, it was very interesting to see, because in listening to Coffee, which that soundtrack was primarily produced by Roy Ayers. Then you had Foxy Brown, where that soundtrack was produced by Willie Hutch. And then you go to, of course, Mark Higgins for, Sheba Baby. It's interesting to kind of like hear these different influences, the funk and the soul and the jazz influence really be the foundation for the stories in these films, and Barbara Mason, I know she had a song called "Yes, I'm Ready," which was actually
that's
sampled.
A big hit, right?
Yeah, that was a big hit for her, and that was sampled as well for several different artists. So we're talking about now when we were listening or looking for the samples, these samples aren't mainstream like songs. These weren't like the biggest hits. So for this album, you're not going to find like samples that were featured in like big, hip hop hits or anything like that. But you do have some hip hop stars who have used some samples, or hip hop stars and their producers who have used samples from these from the soundtrack. So you got Gangstar, you have Rhapsody, you have Kendrick Lamar, Drake. DJ Premier, Joel Ortiz.
Ice Cube.
Ice Cube used the Brushstroke record for the Nigga You Love to Hate.
Yeah,
that was one of the bigger records that I saw.
Yeah. So I mean, for this particular soundtrack, the music itself, and I would say like the body, the triad or the trio of the movies that Pam Grier, was in. I love the soundtracks for this music. We talk on the Beat Connection all the time about how pivotal the 70s was in terms of the soul and the funk and the jazz and just like this melting pot of sounds that really just made for like heaven in terms of sampling. I mean, so many of our producers, or the producers that we know and love, have really dived into the 70s, as just like a foundation for the music that we really love. I mean, hell, if you listen to Kanye, he's a big proponent of that. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, just overall, you're not going to find a lot of hits, as far as like the samples that we found, but more so than that, listening to the album, I always say go back and listen to the soundtrack. The soundtrack on its own is just good music. It's just good music, so yeah.
And I'll say this, as much as we kind of pick apart the movie, the soundtrack, like you said, the soundtrack didn't lead to a bunch of hip hop biggest hits, but it's been sampled countless times by underground artists, by big artists who needed album cuts. So the movie lives on through the soundtrack, even if you don't enjoy the movie. And I feel like that's the case with a lot of blaxploitation flicks, where the soundtrack is almost like
they work in unison.
Yeah, but it's almost like the soundtrack can outlive the movie.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Shiz, you shouted out Just Blaze when we first started talking. I forget the name of the record that's on the soundtrack, but it's the scene where Pam Grier crashes the meeting and runs over a couple of the thugs. And as I'm listening to the score, I'm like, that sounds familiar. And I'm playing it in my head, and I'm like, I've heard this before. It was Safe to Say, produced by Just Blaze. He gave it to Fat Joe. And it's not even listed as a sample, so I don't know if it's like one of those things where, you know how
depends on how much they may recreated it.
Right.
It's kind of like an interpolation.
Right.
You know, so I know I'm hearing it. As a matter of fact, I ended up texting Alexis and I said, "Yo, I've heard a couple RZA sounding instrumentals from this soundtrack." So I think that's a lot of what goes on. They end up interpolating, or you don't know how to clear the sample the legal way because
so you recreate it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
But hip hop has gone back to the SHEBA Baby soundtrack countless times. I mean, countless times. So if nothing else, SHEBA Baby gave us an amazing soundtrack, which led to amazing hip hop records.
Yeah, well, I'll say Monk Higgins, gave us, like great music to sample, because if it wasn't for his compositions and his arrangements, because even if there weren't any the vocals to it or any lyrics, I think just the music itself is like good enough to just listen to, on its own. I
ended up going down a rabbit hole with Monk Higgins, and he did a record called Sitting Duck with, I want to say it was the three sounds. That Sitting Duck has been on repeat for the last week and a half.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Like look that up if you haven't listened to it yet. It's called Sitting Duck by the Three Sounds. It's he does the orchestrative work for I forget who the members are. I should have put it in my notes, but I forgot to. But yeah, Sitting Duck by the Three Sounds. Great record. Great records.
All right, we want to have to check that out.
All right.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You can see how the music of SHEBA Baby has become the basis, the foundation for some of hip hop's most essential beats and sounds over the last 10, 20 even years, even inspiring artists today. And that is the sonic legacy of SHEBA Baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, we are here to discuss, to pass judgment on the film
itself, on the cinematic legacy of SHEBA Baby.
And so we come to the moment that we're
doing this
land on. Lynn,
yes,
would you recommend SHEBA Baby?
No, I can't say that I would recommend that you watch SHEBA Baby.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
No. Buy the soundtrack.
Yes. I concur.
Get it on vinyl too.
There's no reason to watch SHEBA Baby.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm sure somewhere on Shiz's wall there is the SHEBA Baby soundtrack. So let's all go to Shiz's house and just listen.
I'm actively looking for it now.
All right. Would either of you, would the Beat Connection, Shiz, Alexa, Azriel, would you recommend that people watch SHEBA Baby? Look at Alexa's face. Alexa's like, she's trying so hard to be kind. She's like,
okay.
Go first, Les. Go first.
So I would say yes. But the reason I would say yes is if you watch Coffee and Foxy Brown. I think it's important to see the trio of films of one of the first Black female action stars, especially during this particular time. I think it's important just for history's sake, just for your own personal knowledge. If you love films, I would say yes. Personally, would I watch it again? No. But I think if you are really interested in the evolution of Pam Grier, if you're interested in her story, and if you're interested in Blaxploitation films, then I would say yes. But I would also recommend don't watch it by itself because it's not a good representation of Pam Grier. Watch it with Coffee. Like if you can watch it, watch Coffee first, Foxy Brown, and then watch, SHEBA Baby, and just see, the trajectory of her work.
So watch Coffee, watch Foxy Brown, turn on SHEBA Baby, and do the dishes. That's what Alexa is. That's basically her recipe for your Pam Grier-a-thon. Shiz, what did say you? Should we watch SHEBA Baby?
Okay. So I'll say this, right? Think about your favorite artist. Hypothetically speaking, let's just say you bought every Jay-Z album, right? Every Jay-Z album wasn't a hit, but you still bought it and listened to it because you wanted to hear Jay and hear what he's talking about. So I kind of attribute this the same way. Now, Lex, I would say I would watch it in a particularly different order. I would probably watch it, like, when you're getting ready to, when you're getting scolded at work or something, for example, and they tell you the sandwich, right? So I would probably watch like Coffee first, then SHEBA Baby, and then end it with like Foxy Brown. So it's like, we're going to do you a little good, go and slide that not so good stuff in the middle, and then we're going to kind of bring her back to life, with, but then also too, go into it thinking. So if you read about the film before you put it on, right, you see all the bad reviews. And even if you sit here and watch this podcast and the show mission right now and hear how quote unquote terrible it is, go into it as if you're watching a Sci-Fi Channel movie like early Saturday morning or something like that. You know what you're going. You know what you're going into. Those sci-fi movies, you're not looking for exceptional acting. You're not looking for high visual scenes. You're looking simply for the comedic kind of like, I know this is going to be bad, so I'm going into it knowing Sharknado is coming at me.
I'm about to say.
You go into it with an open mind and just have fun with it. But I would recommend it as a watch. Go for it.
So Shiz says SHEBA Baby, the Sharknado of blaxploitation films.
There you go. The Sharknado reading.
Right. And maybe Sharknado might be too much. Maybe it's Sharknado 2.
Right.
All right, Azrael, where we going with this? Should we watch SHEBA Baby?
Much like my illustrious co-host, I'm of the mindset it's all about what you're going into the movie expecting, right? With me, I always look at blaxploitation like this could go one or two ways. This could be really good, or it could be hilariously bad. I tend to like hilariously bad movies because as long as there's a comedic effect to it, it's like if I can find something to laugh at, I'll enjoy myself. Now, if you're going in there expecting great acting, great action scenes, it's like, all right, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. But in terms of, like Lex said, it's part of history. If you're just looking for appreciation of Pam Grier's career, because that's really the only incentive to really watch it. If you just want to go on a Pam Grier marathon, I mean, it's probably the last movie of her resume that I would watch. I would probably turn on Jackie Brown or Bones before I watch that again. But I would tell people to watch it. Just make your own mind up. Even if 5 people say it's terrible, make your own mind up.
All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Right. There you have it. The B Connection, spoken like people who are not on a mission to watch every black film ever made. So they have the freedom to just say, sure, go watch it. Hey. Why not? What else are you doing?
Right. But see, we got to watch all of them.
Hey, don't watch it twice. You can watch it once, though.
Deborah Battle reminds us to not forget Friday.
Don't forget Foster. Friday Foster. Yeah. I was thinking that.
Yeah. See,
came out the same year.
Yeah, you might want to rethink that sandwich if you watch Friday Foster. And then like, oh, okay, well maybe we don't have to watch SHEBA Baby. Right. Maybe we can just put this bologna out of our sandwich and we can just have all ham and turkey and roast beef. All right. But we shall see. We shall see. All right. Well, before we tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to be watching next week here on the road to 300, I want to say thank you to the Beat Connection podcast.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Alexa, look at they got it's all foil. We don't got foil shirts. We don't got foil shirts. Oh, look at them. They all flexing and stuff, all shiny. Oh man. We gotta get our weight up, Vince. Yeah. The Beat Connection, you can check them out on YouTube, the Beat Connection 215, where they break down the history, the sonic legacy of some of your favorite hip-hop joints. This has been so much fun. And I can't wait till we get an opportunity. I picked this movie. Next time we'll let you guys pick.
I was about to say.
Next time we'll let you guys.
I'll tell you what. Maybe we can pick a soundtrack and have them back over on our.
Okay, all right.
Love it. Maybe we'll make a special episode where we pick a soundtrack instead of just one song
or some tracks.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Yeah,
that would be dope. Yeah. Thank you so much for having us on here. It was absolutely it was so much fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And not for nothing, right? I feel like I need to say this, right, real quick. I wanted to personally thank Lynn face to face, right, man, because for those who don't know, a little behind the scenes, this is our probably first and a half time really meeting. And when I decided to get into this venture of podcasting, I was going in a totally different direction. But Lex was like, hey, I have a friend. He's been in the game for a minute. He'll answer all your questions or whatever. And he took my call right then and there, probably about an hour before he was getting ready to film his other stuff. So I definitely want to say thank you, and I'm grateful and appreciative for you answering all my silly questions and all that. And definitely thank you for almost not necessarily giving me the push, but just letting me know what's cool to go ahead and jump into it and just have fun and do your thing. So definitely thank you for that, sir.
Well, you are very welcome, sir. You are very, very welcome, and I will expect my foil Beat Connection shirt.
Oh, of course. Shoot me the sizes, and I got you both.
All right.
Look, Vince is sliding me in.
That's right.
Texting me now. Anyway, well, thank you. Very appreciate that, and mad love to y'all, man. Y'all doing great things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Doing good work.
This was a lot of fun, and I love what you brothers are doing. I told you guys this in pre-production. Love what you guys are doing. Love the mission, and keep going.
Dope.
Well, thank you.
Dope.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right.
Before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, tell you what we're going to be watching next week. I want to invite you all to email us all of your thoughts and concerns. Email us at themishowmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. Like and follow us on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube at The Me Show Mission, which is a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work. We are continuing on this road to 300 episodes.
Woo.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight was episode 276.
On the road.
Yeah.
On the road.
Ooh.
All right.
Next week, episode 277. It's Vincent's turn.
It is.
Do you remember what film we're watching?
I do. It's almost a bookend to Jungle Fever.
Yes, it is.
We'll watch the first film tackling interracial relationships. 1967's Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Ooh, wow.
With Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
Spencer Tracy. Katharine
Hepburn and Isabel Sanford.
Yes, Isabel Sanford. That's right.
As a sassy maid. She real sassy. She real sassy, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Is that Weezy? Oh, you so sassy.
Oh, Weezy.
You always need a sassy maid in a movie. Always need a sassy maid. Oh my God.
So next week, ladies and gentlemen, guess who's coming to dinner right here on the Me Show Mission. Until then, he's Vince, I'm Len, and in parting we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.